Hey there, you're here with
Amber.
Tala.
and Alana. Welcome to
Connecting
The
Dot
Podcast.
Today we're here with Miss Racheal Curtis, and she is currently a registered clinical counselor who's helping adults of all ages with various mental health issues. And now she's going to do a little bit more of a detailed introduction. So please welcome Miss Racheal Curtis.
So I'm Racheal, and I am a registered clinical counselor here in BC. What that means is I offer services for folks who are struggling with their mental health, right? Folks who want to come in and just get some support. Yeah, usually with things like anxiety, depression. And I've been doing that for 3 years now. And I was a college instructor before doing this and also a life coach. So I've gone through some different career transitions along the way.
Hey, well, thank you so much for meeting up with us today.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start off with the first question. What are some of the most common concerns people bring to you regarding life advice? And like how do you approach those situations?
So first of all, I love that question. And a lot of folks think that counseling is you're going to come in and I'm going to solve your problems for you. I'm going to fix everything for you. I'm going to give you all these suggestions and pieces of advice, and your life is going to be so much easier. The reality is that's not what we do. We're not even supposed to give advice.
Oh, really?
That's right. So that's a surprise for a lot of people when they come in. They're like, "You're not going to give me any advice?" It's like, it's not that I'm not going to give you advice. It's that the advice is actually going to be found within you. You will figure it out what you need. My role is to sit with you and ask questions to get you there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the client. I don't know you. How
Mm-hmm.
do I know what's best for you?
Right.
You know what's best for you.
Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to avoid that question. I'm just trying to set us off on the right pace here in regards to counseling,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? It is different than coaching. Coaching, maybe you can give a few more like suggestions and things like that. But counseling is about holding space for that person to become empowered within themselves, to find the answer within themselves. Because I could tell you what to do, but it might not be right for you, one. But second, I could offer you a suggestion, but you're not going to feel empowered afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to be, I leaned on a professional, and now I'm going to lean on a professional in the future. The
Mm-hmm.
goal of counseling is for you to be able to learn to lean on and be confident in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, thank you for letting us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so like the next few questions are gonna be like more based on like things you ran into like your career.
Like,
So
can you share any patterns or themes you've noticed in like the challenges people face across different stages of life?
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, I would say one of the first things I've noticed, whether it's, I mean, I don't counsel teenagers or kids,
Mhm.
but I definitely am familiar with kids and young adults, and I have been one.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things I have noticed, I work with definitely like 21-year-olds and up to like 70, 80-year-olds.
Mhm.
The common theme is people want validation.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter what age they are coming in, folks have this underlying need. We all do, to feel understood,
Mhm.
to feel like who we are and how we are in this world
Mhm.
is okay. It's it's huge. I'll have, a 50-something-year-old woman come in, right?
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, she just wants her children, her adult children, to
Yeah.
understand where she's coming from,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to understand her point of view. And she just wants to be validated for all that she's done.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, those adult kids are feeling the same way. They're like, I just want to know that how I'm being with the family is okay, that I'm being as your daughter or your son, your
Mm-hmm.
child is also okay. Like who I am is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do in my work is I help folks to get to that place and understanding that who you are is okay.
Wow.
There may be some things that you want to work on. There could be some parts of you, not who you truly are. But there may be some parts of you that get into conflict sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
or they're more fight, or they're more flight, and so you can work on those parts of you so that you can be better in relationships and in the world as it is. But ultimately, people are looking to say, is who I am as I am okay?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so you might be surprised that your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, your auntie, your big brother, whatever, that they struggle with the same things you do. Now, it may feel a little bit more important
Mm-hmm.
as a teenager, right?
Yeah.
To receive validation and to be like, do I fit in? Am I okay as I am? It's a huge part of your developmental process. It does soften as you get older, but it's still, I have found with these clients, and listen, myself, I'm 47 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and with myself is we just want to know we're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you might be surprised like how impactful it is to tell a parent, hey
Yeah.
mom, like, did you know that you're okay?
Yeah.
Like I know you're not perfect and neither am I, but you know what? We're okay. We're doing the best we can, and I think that's just so important for folks to come from that compassion-based space and say, I may have some things I need to work on, and the people around me may not respond and react to me in the ways that I always want or like,
Mm-hmm.
and and that's okay.
So, what types of issue do people typically come to you with when they're struggling in their romantic relationships? And like, how do you kind of help them work through those?
Mm. Yes. Ugh, romantic relationships. They're so complex and complicated at first. You
Right.
Oh,
see, so I'll have a couple, they'll come in and I'll ask them to model their fighting for me. So I'll say, pick something easy. So like my husband took the last bag of chips and didn't even think of me. I was so pissed off, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it actually causes a big fight between the two of them. Well, come on now. We know the issue can't truly be over this little bag of Doritos chips, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Not about the chips.
Yeah.
So what is it really about? And that's my role in the room is to get them to figure out what is that really about underneath you took the last bag of chips. So I think one of the things that a lot of couples come in and they think the problem is communication. If we just improve our communication skills, we'll figure this out. Or, we just need to make a plan. And I know you're teenagers, but whatever, but we need to make a plan to have more consistent sex in our lives because
Oh, okay.
sex, money, and kids are the things they complain about the most.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sex, money, and kids on the surface.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
what it actually comes down to is, am I really being heard and understood?
Mm-hmm.
And are the two partners able to get to a place individually? So that requires self-work,
Mm-hmm.
understanding yourself as an individual and your own stuff that you're bringing into the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So someone might have a sensitivity to criticism. And when their partner says something to them, like, "Well, why didn't you do the dishes?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not even about the dishes, really. It's about they have a trigger around criticism, maybe because they grew up in a family where they were criticized a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that triggers a fight response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the partner may be like, Whoa, that's an overreaction. You always overreact. And
Oh,
now this person's feeling attacked and shame, and
yeah.
this person's feeling frustrated. And so I think what it comes down to for a lot of couples is to slow down and number one, know your own stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
know your triggers, know that you have some sensitivities that of all the people in the world, your romantic partner is going to bring those out in you. Second, know that as a couple, you will have to learn to be vulnerable and open and do some work on when I do this, she does that,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
or when I do this, she does this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and to figure out how to repattern those dynamics in a way where you're not driving each other away, but you're coming in and coming closer together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think to sum it up, it would be personal counseling and couples counseling
Yeah.
is needed for most folks. Don't wait for the problem to begin. Like you can do counseling anytime. It doesn't have to be when you have a problem. It could be just come in for some self-exploration before you get into or once you're in a serious relationship. Just be like, I've noticed that when I'm with my boyfriend, I get really mad when he does this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, yeah, yeah, you get really mad when he does that. Why?
Yeah.
What's happening there? Oh, it reminds me of when my dad used to tell me what to do all the time. Yeah, okay. So let's work on that.
Hmm. And another thing that we would sometimes notice for like couples at school, there's like instances where like one couple like every time there's like an argument, one couple won't really acknowledge the other person, would just kind of like brush it off, like kind of
Yeah.
just
They
like,
just
yeah,
ignore it like it's
okay, it's
nothing.
fine. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know it's my bad. But then they aren't really like,
They don't really know what the problem is.
yeah,
Yeah.
just trying to like let it pass
Yeah.
by.
Huge, huge. So I'll tell you, one of the, I'll tell you, I don't have to tell you details, but generally speaking, I've worked with a couple before. They just weren't willing to acknowledge the other person's feelings
Mm-hmm.
or perception of a situation. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say the bag of chips situation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like your partner just told you that when you took that last bag, she felt like you didn't care about her
Mm-hmm.
enough enough to care to think maybe these are her chips, like maybe I should ask. Like, so what's the underlying issue here? She didn't feel cared for.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel to hear her say that to you? What? I'm just supposed to not have my snacks when I want to have my snacks? Uh, Hold on. How does it feel to hear her say that when you took that last bag of chips, she really felt sad because it felt like you didn't care about her? Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to say about that. Okay. And I try again, right? And the partner just wasn't willing to acknowledge and say, oh, you felt uncared for. And I might say, right. Is there anything you want to say about her feeling in that situation? Well, yeah, I mean, that sucks. I don't want you to feel like you're not cared for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you can just see the two people in the room beginning to soften,
Mm-hmm.
right? They begin to soften and they begin to, oh, like the acknowledgement from the other partner. You felt like I didn't care for you. I want you to know I do care for you. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need to have a sorry, but you're right. It's the acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People, again, it's validation again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
People
like,
want to know, you know, my how I responded to that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I felt hurt.
Yeah.
Like you didn't care. Like I've been feeling lately you don't love me. Oh shit. Like that
Yeah.
comes in the room and that's huge, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, do you think like communication is key in between like a relationship, like romantically?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
But the
not
problem is there's so many assumptions being made between couples.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many assumed expectations.
Mhm.
Oh, well, he knows that I like him, so, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not whatever. You need to tell that person those things. And we hesitate to do that because it means being vulnerable. And
Mhm.
I find that most humans, no matter what age, are afraid of being vulnerable, of
Mhm.
going to that softer place and saying something like, "Hey, you know what? Like when you meet me, let's say high school, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like why can't we start in high school? High school relationships, saying when we meet up with each other at school, when we first meet each other, like, I just really like it when you give me a hug.
Oh.
Oh, well, I don't want to give you a hug, dude. No, that's not cool. Oh, okay. I mean, if it really is a big deal to you, I guess I can, but I just want you to know, like, that time you did that, it made me feel really special. And the fact that you're willing to hug me in front of everybody, like, that meant so much to me. The other thing is we don't tell, especially men,
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
often don't tell them enough explicitly what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I need this from you. Often we assume these guys know and they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, and vice versa. And then, of course, you've got same-sex relationships. Like, it doesn't matter. Tell each other what you need
Mhm.
and what you want and what you desire.
Mhm.
And I would say in high school, even more importantly, what you don't want, what you don't like, and what you don't need.
Yeah.
When you put your arm around me like that in the hallway, it actually makes me feel really cringy. And
Yeah.
it feels a little possessive to me. That might be my own stuff, but it really makes me uncomfortable. Can we
Mhm.
not do that? I love you. I care about you, but that just isn't going to work for me. But we're
Mhm.
so afraid to do that.
Yeah.
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 All right. So our next question is,
Like, are there like particular lessons you've learned from clients about maintaining healthy and fulfilling relationships?
It honestly just goes back to the acknowledgement piece. I may be oversimplifying here, but acknowledge each other's stuff. Acknowledge each other's stuff. Don't be too proud. Don't let your ego get in the way. You have to be willing to say, like, I could see that you were really hurt by that.
Mhm.
I'll try to do better.
Real.
Do you want to do the next one?
Yeah. So, what have you observed about the effects of peer pressure on people's mental health, especially in like younger clients?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you mentioned.
Hey, by the way, peer pressure, I know it's a huge thing for teens and
Mhm.
and I have to think way back to remember, but I want you to know too, like I hope it's validating to hear that even someone at 47 years old can feel peer pressure.
Mhm.
Ours looks different and it's more subtle,
Mhm.
but there are still pressures. So, like your parents' peer pressure often can, especially of teens, can be, is my child doing as well as my friend's children?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Especially in certain cultures. Like I know East Indian and Chinese cultures. I grew
Yeah.
up in Hong Kong, but the kids are a symbol of how good you are. It's so hard. And I would say to those, I'm going to get off track here for just for a second. I would say to those parents, you don't own your children, let them be.
Mhm.
You have the privilege. You have the privilege and responsibility of raising them into beautiful adults, but they don't belong to you, not really. And I
Mhm.
think that's where we make the mistake as parents. Um, you're not a possession. So you don't have to be a certain thing, a certain way. A lot of pressure on kids, especially as they get into your age,
Yeah.
right? Like You look like little mini adults, but you're not quite there yet. And sometimes parents forget that too, right?
Yeah.
But so I would say um, peer pressure can have such a huge impact on especially teenage brains,
Mhm.
teenage mental health, um, depression, anxiety, suicidality. All of those things are going to come into play. Um, you can also find yourself in a peer group where it's a very positive experience,
Mhm.
right? Like you could be like, I feel like when I was a teenager, I had I had pretty good friends. Like they weren't the type of people that were gonna force me to do something I didn't really want to do. In fact, I remember having friends saying, we know that I was a pastor's kid, so minister's kid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they're like, we know that you're religious, so we know you probably can't do this. It
Mhm.
wasn't like, oh, do it, do it, do it. It was like
Yeah.
I was more like the one like, no, but I want to do it. And they're like, are you sure? Because like we know like your parents aren't gonna like screw my parents. Um, but yeah, so like peer pressure can be really hard for teenagers, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it carries on into college, trust me,
Yeah.
right? It carries on all throughout life. It just looks different.
Mhm.
What have you seen to be the mental health impacts of peer pressure?
Honestly, like I think most students just feel like kind of left out because
Yeah.
of like peer pressure,
Yeah.
right?
And sometimes it like ends up kind of affecting their studies. Sometimes they just kind of like lose like all motivation of like really trying hard because like, oh, if you try too hard and still don't have like the marks that you want or like really high marks, like what's the point of trying?
Yeah, they give
Kind
up.
of like
Yeah.
just kind of that mentality.
Yeah.
So a withdrawing from trying, a withdrawing from others, isolation, separation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we would tell parents to look for that
Yeah.
in kids. Yeah. And the self-confidence, self-worth goes down real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like the expectations, like wanting to be acknowledged and like peer pressure.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like a lot to kind of like take in
Yeah.
since like yeah.
Okay. So, my next question is what are some of the most rewarding transformation you've seen in your clients as they work through their challenges?
Watching people move from a space of, I'm a problem, I need to fix myself, I have so many issues, right? To a space of compassion for who you are. And listen, I get it. We all know there's parts of us that aren't great, like there's parts of us that feel maybe they need healing or maybe they need some work.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, when I can witness a client who has come in with a lot of shame, right? A lot of unacceptance of their self,
Mhm.
like I'm no good, and at the end of the day, begin to learn and to take in after several sessions with me this modeling of compassion for yourself for where you are. Because how you have arrived at where you are at in your life has come for very good reasons,
Mhm.
right? Like that person that comes in to see me and they're struggling to have good relationships
Mhm.
because they came from an abusive family.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, it's hard to be in good relationships with others when we never had it modeled for us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All we knew was conflict. All we knew was fighting.
Yeah.
All we knew is if we spoke up, we get pushed around or talked down to. You have arrived at where you are, even you three. You are who you are in your life right now in this moment for such good reasons. And when I say good reasons, I don't mean all those reasons are good, right? So sometimes, yeah, we have, our home environments or our situations at school that influence us, right?
Mhm.
They all lead us to being who we are.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, can you understand that? There are some bad things that have happened, but there are some good things that have happened, and all of those experiences make you into who you are.
Mhm.
And if there are some things you're sensing could shift or change or be different, great, work on those things. Otherwise, I always do this with my clients. We always do this kind of hand on the heart, like, I am okay just as I am. I have arrived at who I am and where I am today for really good reasons. I don't have to stay here if I don't want to. I can change some things if I want to. But right now, in this moment, can you let her be?
Mhm.
Let that self be for right now.
Mhm.
And once that compassion is built in somebody, they can leave my space, the counseling space, feeling more empowered,
Mhm.
right? And viewing the world a little differently.
Yeah.
So that's what I see in a lot of my clients. And the feedback I get from clients is just being in the room and being witnessed
Mhm.
as they are
Yeah.
allows them to go out into the real world
Mhm.
and who they are, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing I've done really, but holding space for people to feel validated, super powerful.
Mhm. Wow. Thank you. Do you have anything else to add that you want to say? Because like we're kind of running a
Yeah,
little out of time.
Yeah, we have
I
like
Yeah.
know. That's all
it.
right.
Yeah.
I'm really chatty, that's why. I'm
No,
Okay.
it's great.
Good.
Yeah.
It's very rare. I'm an extroverted counselor. Most counselors are introverts.
Really?
But
Really?
yeah, they're a little quieter, tend to be, yeah. I'm kind of rare. I was a college instructor before this and stood in front of rooms, but um no, I would just say, first of all, really great questions. And it
Thank
was
you.
a pleasure to be a part of this. I hope you learned something, take something away if you can, and I wish you the best on this little project, which I think is amazing. Tell your teacher, yes.
Thank
Thank
So
you
good.
Thank you
so
so much.
much.
You're
Yeah.
very welcome.